about 35.
Yes, let's have a look at the front pages of the papers today. Telegraph, first of all, a new Brexit deal between Europe and the UK on Northern Ireland is imminent.
Here's the Express. It says Rishi Sunak's new Brexit deal is the best for Britain.
Well, he says that. The Mirror reports that a 20% rise in energy bills in April will tip nearly 2 million more people into crisis.
Here's the Sun. It's reporting that the family of murdered Joanna Simpson will meet the Justice Secretary amid fears over her killer's parole bid.
And the Star says dogs resembling TV legend, the collie Lassie, are no longer in favour. Pet owners there's only been 500 of them bred last year.
Do you know what? I just see sausage dogs everywhere I look. It's like they're only, it's just sausage dogs everywhere.
They're the in thing.
And I think, hello, Biggins.
A sausage dog is
heckling from the sidelines. I do love a sausage dog.
Yeah, they're lovely, aren't they?
I would like one, but I also like a lassie dog.
I do worry about the strain on their backs.
Do you know, my kid said to me, how do they sit down? And I was like, oh, good point.
Very good.
That is a very good point.
How does a sausage dog sit down? They don't. They have to lie down. They can't sit down because their back legs are...
I was really sorry for them. They must really sort of like get frustrated when they see dogs with really long legs and think, why am I got these little legs?
Why does a brown cow give white milk when it
only eats green grass?
Oh, my word.
That's the burning question. What is your suggestion?
Right, you may have gathered.
That's a pantomime song.
Because the news is so boring today, I don't want to talk about it. I want to talk to Biggins about how he's prepared for Monday, what he's done over the weekend, and he's gone out for dinner. Let's have a look here and see. He's gone out for dinner in London, and who did you go with, Biggins?
Well, it was my friend Joan Collins, who's just come back from LA, and so it was to welcome her back to London with a gorgeous husband, Percy. There's Neil, my partner, on the right-hand side, and next to him is Hazel, who is married to Bill, who is Joan's brother.
Oh,
and then Judy Kramer is on the right at the back there, the producer of Mamma Mia.
Oh, wow.
And then opposite, the man with the beard, is the lovely Stuart Machin, who is the new MD of Marks & Spencer's.
Well, good luck to him. Well done to him. And sorry, did you mislay my phone number?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm actually just out of shot taking the picture of it.
Because I saw this picture in the newspapers, though, and this was just after an incident when Joan actually nearly got knocked over.
Well,
on a bicycle.
this is typical of Sadiq Khan. I mean, you know, every street now is blocked off. You can't get down streets. You can't do anything. So Maiden Lane is the home of Rules, which is the oldest restaurant in London. Fabulous restaurant, really good. And you can't get dropped outside. So you have to get dropped at the end of the road and walk quite a considerable amount of walking to get to the front. And she was getting out of a taxi and a cyclist nearly ran her over. I mean, and it was, it was, if you're frail and you're getting out of a car, it's terrible.
Well, it is. I mean, yesterday I did negotiate a couple of things over the weekend, but as you know, I will either be on a crutch or I went to Wembley yesterday, and I had a wheelchair in the back of the car, and I thought, will I get into this?
It's a long way to walk.
I could not have walked the distance, the closest you can get to Wembley. I could not have got off and got to the front door on crutches alone.
Not at this stage.
So all this, everybody pedestrianise this and pedestrianise that, you know.
He's done a terrible job, and I don't understand it, because what's happening is that restaurants and businesses are failing.
Yes.
Because of the result of this terrible scheme.
But I also, on the way to Wembley yesterday, they talk about the air quality. People are breathing in this car pollution, but the CM Council grants licences to build apartment after apartment after apartment on roundabouts on the A40, and it's absolutely scandalous. So,
I know.
So if there's cars spewing out fumes, they think, oh, let's get you to open your window and breathe them in. Let's build another 150 flats.
I know.
Incredible. Anyway, Dawn, what have you got to start us? Let's go in and talk about what everybody's going to be talking about and nobody understands.
No, it's so complicated.
But yeah, my weekend was spent talking about this, and I still haven't got a clue what what I'm talking about. The Northern Ireland Protocol. Ursula von der Leyen, the head of the European Union, is flying in today to have talks with Rishi Sunak to finally sort this problem out, evidently. And it's all obviously to do with the border between the UK and Europe, whether it's in the Irish Sea, whether it's on the land in Ireland. And no one's going to be happy because, as far as I can see, there doesn't appear to be a solution that's going to keep everybody happy. No one's actually seen the full deal yet. No one's actually seen the text, the legalese that explains this, hopefully better than I am. And it's meant to be about 100 pages of legal stuff. Now, I'm so glad I'm not a lawyer, because can you imagine ploughing through that? It's going to be the driest thing in Dryville. I just would lose the will to live. All we can hope is that something happens and it gets sorted to the sort of liking of most people, because at the moment, the people in Northern Ireland, as you know, Eamonn, they haven't got a government. Nothing's happening.
Yeah. Well, I always get the people who suddenly become experts in Northern Ireland, they know absolutely
never
nothing
even been there.
Never been there, and they all become experts, and they're going to vote for or against how we actually live. So that's the big story today. Christopher, we go to the Guardian, front page of the Guardian. They're talking about universal credit.
Yes, they're saying, and I can believe this, I mean, you read in a headline saying in a few months' time that there's going to be even more money spent on gas and electricity. So we're in a terrible time. And what they're saying is that the leading poverty charities have called for a change in the law to fix the UK's falling welfare system after research revealed basic benefits fall well below the income of households, and not at least £140 a month below the real cost of food, energy and everyday basics. I mean, this is a story now which is going to go on and on and on, I think, for the next couple of years.
Well, I don't know how people make up that deficit. I mean, if you are on benefits and you're falling short 140 quid a month, I really don't know what the alternative is.
Well, there is no alternative.
Well, food banks, isn't it, and charity donations.
Yeah,
and a terrible way for people to be.
Absolutely, and so it's a terrible thought that this is going to carry on, and I don't know how we can do this. You know, how people can't have to choose between heating and eating. You know, it's ridiculous.
And Dawn, you're talking about fuel poverty,
Yeah, moving on, even more bad news. An extra 1.7 million households will be plunged into fuel poverty when energy bills rise by 20% in April. What's basically happening is that the energy price cap we currently have of £2,500 will rise. It's not confirmed, but it's expected to be announced today, to £3,294. The government is saying they will pay that £294 bit, but you've still got to find another £500. And remember, this is just the average. This isn't just saying this is all you're going to pay. It's actually sort of like that's what the cap is. So, but again, people are, you know, I mean, various charities and organisations are saying people will not be able to afford to pay, and it's another 1.7 million households in fuel poverty, which actually means you're spending 10% of your income on your energy bills. So, not good news.
Wow.
We have a happy story?
Was that good news for Dominic Raab, Christopher? Yesterday he came out all guns blazing, said that, well, he maintains his innocence, didn't want to prejudice the investigation into him, but he said if he is found to be a bully, he would resign.
Haven't we heard this before? This has been going, I think, on for years, hasn't it? He says this every sort of 3 months or something, or every month.
Well, in fairness, nothing has been proven against him.
No, but why does it then keep coming up? That's the interesting thing. Who is pushing this forward? It's obviously not him, because he just doesn't. This is an embarrassment to him. But I think he just says no to everything. I mean, he is not a bully. But anyway, if all these people come forward and say yes, he is a bully, then he will go.
He could be just an assertive boss. It's a fine line, isn't it?
Yes. Very fine line.
Okay, well, we await the outcome of that investigation, but it's interesting. There's lots of rumblings about whether or not, you know, Whitehall and ministers can actually get on. If there's a problem with that relationship, we already saw Gavin Williamson leave over bullying, didn't we? And there's been rumours around Priti Patel in the past, and it does certainly seem as though certainly there's some strong feelings.
We're moving
in
on to
Westminster.
a story, Dawn, front page of
Yeah.
the Sun, and I only became aware of this at the weekend. But
Yes.
this story of a lady called Joanna Simpson, and
Yeah.
her mother continues to fight for justice for her. Please, could you highlight and tell us what happened to Joanna? And what I don't understand is the man who bludgeoned her over the head with a hammer, her husband, and dug a grave for her, is now being released after serving just half his sentence. It wasn't regarded as murder, it was regarded as manslaughter.
Yeah. It's an absolutely horrific story, and Joanna Simpson was battered to death by, as you said, by her estranged husband, an ex-BA pilot, Robert Brown, in 2010. Their two young children were in the house at the time, and I'm not going into the gory detail, but heard everything that happened. So Joanna's mum is actually going to have a meeting, Dinah Parks is the mum's name, with Dominic Raab, who we've just been talking about, to say that the killer's parole bid cannot be allowed to happen. He was sentenced to 26 years for manslaughter and for obstructing the coroner. He buried her body in Windsor Grove Park. I mean, can you imagine? In any case, he's served 13 years this sentence, and he has applied for parole to be released in November. Hasn't been 100% decided yet, but as I said, Joanna's mum is in fear of how he will behave when he is out. Obviously, he'll be sort of like monitored, supposedly, for her and two children who are still obviously traumatised by what happened to their mum. It's a horrific story, and again, it raises questions about sentencing in this country, and in particular the role of the parole board and how they make decisions and whether they make the right
It's a disgrace.
Dominic Raab yesterday was saying that he had wanted to bring in longer, he didn't want to talk about the specific case, but he'd wanted to bring in longer sentences, but it was voted down by Labour, and he was very much blaming it on those. And he talked about his reforms that he's bringing into the parole board. You're right, it's an absolute disgrace. This would never be right in any sane world.
You know, and I feel for the poor mother of this woman, you know, who knows that he's going to be out and could do it again.
Yeah, frightening.
You know, there's no reason to say he won't, or that he will. But I mean, it's frightening.
I just don't know how he was accused, how he copped manslaughter and not murder.
Eamonn, I was confused by that as well. It doesn't go into the detail of how it was manslaughter. I mean,
But he hit his wife 14 times over the head with a hammer, then put her body in a car before burying her in a pre-dug grave in Windsor Great Park.
That's premeditated.
It sounds right murder, doesn't it, to me? But and then obstructed the coroner by revealing.
Views on that? Let us know, folks. Let's talk about this dog situation, Biggins, as well.
I love the star. It was made at the front page.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of Elizabeth Taylor. Now, I've no mention of this Elizabeth Taylor, because, of course, she was famous for Lassie. I bet no one knows who that is. That picture is of Elizabeth.
Of Elizabeth Taylor.
No, that's the one. Anyway, the story is that's
She
not.
looked so young. God
She
love
was
her.
so
She
young.
was young. She was a child.
She was a child.
Yeah.
Like-
But I mean, interestingly enough, this is a story saying that, in fact, 94% drop in iconic TV collies. That 500 apparently last year were bred, and they're out of favour. And that little collie, there, which I suppose is Lassie, is adorable. Really lovely.
I just associated Lassie with one of the saddest things ever. And whenever I saw a Lassie dog, they always just made me feel sad. I'd be like, oh, it's a Lassie dog, and then I'd feel sad.
Why?
Wasn't there sort of a sad theme to it all?
There must have been in one of them, or the dog died.
As a child, I just remember thinking it was very morose and sad, and my parents would always say, oh, don't watch that, she's going to cry.
Yeah.
They're very intelligent dogs, though, aren't they? I mean, they're
very.
Yeah.
But what I do remember
A lot of grooming.
is I got I've got a rescue dog.
Oh, yeah.
I got a DNA test done on her.
She got a bit of Lassie in her.
She's got a lot of collie in her, a lot of collie combined with a lot of
Sausage dog.
sausage
Oh,
dog.
there you go. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
What I would have the parenting there, I would have been interested to see how.
Can she sit down?
To admit.
Of course, very well. I mean, she's only the size. She's like a
She
fox.
couldn't after mating, though, could she?
Black fox. She's what?
She couldn't after mating.
Steady
Well, I
on,
think
Biggin.
there was a little bit.
6:49 in the morning.
6:49.
A little bit of corgi and terrier in there, like a small percentage, but basically she's 70% collie and 25% sausage dog.
Really? What a fascinating combination.
Well,
I reckon some of our viewers will have some lassie dogs this morning. Send us your pictures.
Yes.
Do you have one of the 500 lassie pups, perhaps, that were born last year?
Yeah.
Let's bring back the lassie.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Why not?
Yeah, but just while you're there, Biggins, because this applies to you, older men are more likely than younger men to suffer from sex addiction.
Oh, God.
Is that true? That's frank.
Well, here it is here.
Yeah, must be true.
8 patients in their 80s were treated by NHS doctors last year, and 4 were in their 70s. In all, 116 sex addicts, including 36 women, have sought help in the past 5 years. The most common age was in the 40s and 50s, but one man was in his 90s.
90s?
Digital statistics from the NHS reveals sex obsession, Isabel, bear this in mind, can ruin relationships and careers.
Well,
That's what's
been
happened.
impinging on my career for some time.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Yeah.
Crikey.
Christopher, Dawn, thank you both
Thank
very much
you.
indeed.
Thank you.